In 1922, inside a Walgreens in Chicago, a soda jerk named Ivar Pop Coulson dropped 2 scoops of vanilla ice cream into a standard malted milk drink, added chocolate syrup, and stirred in a scoop of malt powder. Nobody announced it. Nobody patented it. Customers started standing 3 and 4 deep around the soda fountain to buy what they were calling the double-rich chocolate malted milk. And just like that, the modern milkshake existed, born not in a restaurant, not in a test kitchen, but at a drugstore counter in the middle of a Tuesday. It's not about the drinks, not just the food. It's about the fact that one of the most creative, most original food cultures in American history happened inside a pharmacy. And then, sometime around the early 1980s, it closed forever, and almost nobody noticed. These are 25 things that lived and died at the Walgreens lunch counter. And one item on this list, I'll get to it toward the end, is the one that probably did more damage to the modern food supply than anything else we'll cover today. And most people have no idea it's even gone. Let's start the countdown. Number 25, the nickel candy counter. This one wasn't technically at the fountain. It sat near the register, close to the door, right at kid height. Penny candy, nickel candy, little wax bottles filled with colored sugar syrup, candy buttons on paper strips, root beer barrels, wax lips. The whole display cost maybe 30 cents to clean out completely. And that was the point. It was designed so that a kid with whatever change they found in the couch cushions could actually buy something. Not one thing, several things. The candy counter wasn't a luxury. It was priced so that nobody walked out empty-handed. Compare that to what a candy bar costs today, and you start to feel it in your chest a little bit. Number 24, the BLT on white toast. This is the most ordinary item on the entire list, and that is exactly why it belongs here. Bacon, lettuce, tomato, white toast, a little mayo, served on a plate at a lunch counter for something close to a quarter. No frills, no upgrades, nothing special about it at all, except that it was real food made by a real person and handed to you across a counter by someone who knew your name. The fact that even the most basic, most unremarkable thing on the menu is now gone says more about what was lost than any of the fancy items do. It wasn't the banana splits that made the lunch counter what it was. It was the BLT. Number 23, the root beer barrel float. Soda fountain drinks, whether plain carbonated water or water mixed with syrups, were viewed as healthful. The root beer float was one of the few items that never really tried to be anything other than what it was. Cold root beer poured over a scoop of vanilla ice cream. At some Walgreens locations, they served it in a barrel-shaped mug, heavy ceramic, the kind that kept the drink cold for the entire time you were sitting there. You wrapped both hands around it. The foam settled into the ice cream and made this thick, creamy layer at the top. You didn't stir it, you just drank it layer by layer and pretended you weren't going to order another one. Number 22, the soda jerk uniform and slang. Quick culture break, because this one matters for context. The guy behind the counter, the one making everything, was called a soda jerk. And that name came from a specific physical motion, the jerking action used to pull the handle on the soda fountain dispenser. One sharp pull back, a controlled pour, then the handle released. Soda fountain staff had their own jargon, things like burn one all the way for a chocolate malted with chocolate ice cream, or shake one in the hay for a strawberry shake. It was a whole language, spoken fast, behind a counter, while hands were already moving to the next order. The soda jerk wasn't a teenager killing time. He was a skilled, short-order operator running a full service station alone, usually during a lunch rush with no ticket system and no backup. When the counters closed, that entire skill set disappeared with them. Number 21, whipped hot chocolate in winter. Seasonal, only in colder months. Hot chocolate made properly, not from a powder packet, not from a mix, topped with fresh whipped cream that the soda jerk made behind the counter. You'd walk in from the cold, sit down, and within a few minutes there was a cup of something steaming in front of you that cost almost nothing and tasted like the best version of that drink you'd ever had. The whipped cream didn't come from a can. It sat in a real mound on top and slowly melted into the chocolate underneath. That's it. That's the whole item, and it doesn't exist anymore. Number 20, the black cow. In certain parts of the country, a root beer float wasn't called a root beer float. It was called a black cow. Depending on where you grew up, you either know exactly what I'm talking about, or you've never heard that term in your life, and that regional split is the whole point. Fountain culture wasn't national, it was local. The same drink had different names in different towns, different states, different neighborhoods. Drop your version in the comments right now. I genuinely want to know what your part of the country called it, because the comment section on this one is going to be interesting. Number 19, the egg cream. Here's the one that trips everyone up. An egg cream has no egg in it. It also has no cream. It is milk, seltzer water, and chocolate syrup, combined in a specific order. Syrup first, then milk, then seltzer poured hard against a spoon to create foam. And the result is a light, fizzy, slightly chocolatey drink that is nothing like a milkshake and nothing like a soda, and somehow better than both. The name has been debated for over a century, and nobody has ever fully agreed on where it came from. Some say it's a corruption of a Yiddish phrase. Some say it referred to the frothy head that looked like beaten egg white. Whatever the origin, the name itself is the reason people remember it. Because the second someone tells you it has no egg and no cream, you have to try it just to understand what it actually is. Number 18, the Lime Ricky. Fresh lime juice, simple syrup, carbonated soda water. That's it. No brand name. No artificial flavoring. Soda fountain drinks were viewed as healthful and in accord with the temperance movement of the 19th century. And the Lime Ricky fit that tradition perfectly. It was tart, it was refreshing, and it was made from real fruit by hand, right in front of you. This predates almost every commercial soda brand you can name. The fountain wasn't serving Sprite as a lime option. The fountain was making the original version of that idea from scratch every single time someone ordered one. The bottled stuff came later and was a worse version of what was already there. Number 17, cherry phosphate. Most people under 60 have never heard the word phosphate used to describe a drink, and that's exactly what makes this one worth stopping on. A cherry phosphate was made by combining cherry syrup with acid phosphate, a tart, slightly sour compound, and carbonated water. The acid phosphate is what separated it from a regular cherry soda. It gave the drink a sharp, almost medicinal edge that balanced the sweetness in a way that modern flavored sodas never quite replicate. The preparation method was precise, almost clinical, which makes sense given that it was developed inside a pharmacy. The soda jerk was essentially following a formula, not a recipe. When the counters closed, that specific technical knowledge, how to proportion the phosphate, how to balance the tartness, went with them. Number 16, the Green River Soda. Bright green, lime-flavored, and completely impossible to buy today in the form that made it famous because it was a fountain-only drink. You could not bottle it. You could not take it home. If you wanted a Green River, you had to physically sit down at the counter and order one from a person who made it right there. That exclusivity is the reason it has the reputation it does. It wasn't just a good drink. It was a drink that required you to show up. And when the counters closed, the Green River didn't move to a bottle or a can. It just stopped existing in the way people remembered it. Number 15, the 5-cent Cherry Coke. Before Coca-Cola ever manufactured a bottled, cherry-flavored version of their product, soda jerks were making cherry cokes by hand. Fountain Coke, a measured splash of cherry syrup, stirred once, served cold. A nickel. That's the entire transaction. What's interesting about this one is that most people think of Cherry Coke as a product that Coca-Cola invented in the 1980s. They did not. The soda jerk invented it decades earlier, at a counter, with a syrup bottle and a steady hand. The corporate version came along much later and was a mass-produced approximation of something that had already existed in a better, fresher form for years. Number 14, the Frap. In parts of New England and eastern Canada, the name Frap is used. with the term milkshake, sometimes reserved for shaken milk drinks without ice cream. So when New Englanders ordered a frap at the counter, they were ordering what everyone else called a milkshake, thick, blended, full of ice cream. The word frap itself is older than the coffee chain that made it famous by several decades. It was a working-class soda fountain term, used in diners and drugstores across the Northeast by people who had no idea it would eventually get rebranded as a premium coffee drink and sold for $6. The original was about $1, maybe less. Number 13, the Orangeade and Orange Freeze. Citrus-based, light, made with real orange flavoring, and sometimes a scoop of ice cream floated on top. The Orange Freeze predates most commercial orange sodas by a significant margin. The fountain was the originator here, not the bottling plant. These drinks existed in their freshest, most direct form at the counter, squeezed or syruped to order. And what eventually showed up in grocery stores was a processed version of the same basic idea, stripped of the handmade quality and sold at scale. The fountain did it first. The factory did it cheaper. Number 12, the suicide. Every kid who grew up with access to a soda fountain knows this one. You ask the soda jerk to add a small splash of every single syrup on the counter into one cup, all of them, simultaneously. Whatever came out was what you got, chaotic, unpredictable, usually too sweet, occasionally kind of disgusting, and completely thrilling. The name was the whole point. Ordering a suicide at a lunch counter when you were 9 years old felt like a genuinely rebellious act. Adults didn't order suicides. It was yours. It was a kid's ritual that existed entirely because of the counter format, because there was a person there with all the syrups in reach, willing to play along. If you did this as a kid, drop it in the comments. I want to know what region you're from and what it tasted like. Number 11, the pineapple sundae, vanilla ice cream, warm pineapple sauce. That's it. And most people hearing that for the first time assume it sounds wrong because we've been conditioned to think of sundaes as chocolate, caramel, or strawberry. Pineapple breaks that assumption. It was a standard menu item at the counter, not a special, not a seasonal offering, just a thing you could order any day. And the warm sauce against cold ice cream created a combination that was genuinely distinct from anything else on the menu. The pineapple sundae didn't disappear because people stopped liking it. It disappeared because the counter disappeared, and nobody ever bothered to put it on a fast food menu. Number 10, the butterscotch sundae. Hot fudge is still everywhere. Caramel is still everywhere. Butterscotch has almost completely vanished from modern dessert menus, and that makes this one feel less like nostalgia and more like an actual extinction. The butterscotch sundae at the counter was made with a warm sauce, real butterscotch, not a flavored caramel approximation, poured over ice cream and usually topped with whipped cream and a cherry. The flavor is distinct enough that once you've had it, you notice its absence, and the absence is real. You can walk into almost any restaurant in the country right now and find hot fudge. You will not find butterscotch. That's not a coincidence. That's what happens when an entire food format disappears and takes its menu with it. Now, I mentioned at the top of this video that one item on this list intersects with something much bigger than nostalgia, something that directly connects to how food changed and what it cost us. We're getting close to it. Keep going. Number 9, the hot fudge sundae, made to order. The fudge was heated fresh behind the counter and poured to order, not squeezed from a plastic bottle, not pumped from a dispenser, a saucepan. Real chocolate, real butter, heat applied by a person paying attention, and then poured directly onto your ice cream while it was still hot enough to partially melt the scoop underneath. The contrast between the hot fudge and the cold ice cream was the entire experience. What most people get today when they order a hot fudge sundae at a fast food counter is a room temperature chocolate sauce that comes from a bag. It is not the same thing. It is not even close to the same thing. And and most people eating it today have no reference point for what the original actually was. Number 8. The banana split, original 3-scoop format. One banana, split lengthwise by hand, laid flat in a long dish. 3 scoops of ice cream, usually vanilla, chocolate, and strawberry. 1 in each section of the banana. 3 different toppings on each scoop. Whipped cream, nuts, a cherry. The banana split was a production. It took time. It required attention and a specific sequence of steps. And the physical act of splitting the banana, that first cut, was the moment the whole thing began. It was a ritual, not just a dessert, and the ritual required a counter, a person, and an audience. You watched it get made. That was part of what you were paying for. Number 7. The club sandwich triple-decker. 3 layers of bread, 3 layers of filling, held together with toothpicks topped with those little colored cellophane frills, red, green, yellow, that served no functional purpose except to tell you that someone cared enough to put them there. The club sandwich at the Walgreens counter was as much a presentation as it was a meal. It looked like something. It had structure, and the frilled toothpick, as small and unnecessary as it sounds, was the detail that told you this wasn't just food thrown on a plate. Someone assembled it. That distinction between food assembled and food thrown together is the entire difference between what the lunch counter was and what replaced it. Number 6. The tuna melt on the grill. In the 1910s, many druggists took a step further and began offering light lunches along with fountain drinks. And by the time the Walgreens counter was in full operation, it wasn't just a dessert station. It was a functioning, short-order grill. The tuna melt was a standard lunch order: tuna salad, melted cheese, toasted bread, served hot off the flat top. This is important because it reframes what the counter actually was. People think of the soda fountain as a place for ice cream. It was also a place for a real lunch, a hot lunch, made on a grill by a person, served to you in the time it took to have a conversation. That's a restaurant. It just happened to be inside a drugstore. Number 5. The Walgreens chicken salad sandwich. Walgreen kept his soda fountain open year-round and served his wife Myrtle's homemade specialties, including chicken, tongue, and egg salad sandwiches. The chicken salad sandwich became genuinely famous, well known enough that some older customers reportedly still ask pharmacists today if the recipe still exists somewhere. Think about that for a second. People are walking into a pharmacy in the 2020s and asking the pharmacist if anyone saved the chicken salad recipe. That's not nostalgia. That's a specific loss. The sandwich was that good and that consistent for that long. And when the counter closed, the recipe went with it. Nobody wrote it down. Nobody passed it on. It's just gone. Number 4. The Coney dog at the counter. Chili dog, no beans, yellow mustard, served fountainside. This one matters because it connects the Walgreens counter to a much larger food culture, the diner era, roadside Americana world that existed across the country in the mid-20th century. The counter wasn't operating in isolation. It was part of a whole ecosystem of American lunch culture that included diners, drive-ins, and short-order grills, all of them serving versions of the same working-class food at prices that working-class people could actually afford. The Coney dog at the counter was a link in that chain, and when the chain broke, it broke all the way through. Number 3. The original chocolate malted. In 1922, a Walgreens soda jerk named Ivar Pop Coulson dropped 2 scoops of vanilla ice cream into a glass of milk, added chocolate syrup, and the ingredient that forever changed the dairy dessert world: malted milk powder. In 1919, Walgreen had 20 stores, and within a decade grew to 525. Company historians attributed Walgreen's tremendous growth in the 1920s to the popularity of the malted milkshake. That's what one drink did to the entire company. Within a few years, the malted milkshake invention launched a cultural phenomenon, especially among teens. Drugstore soda fountains were unofficially rebranded as malt shops. The chocolate malted that exists today, the powder you can buy at a grocery store, the malt flavor you can order at an old-school diner, is a descendant of what was made at that counter. The original, made with Walgreen's own house ice cream in a specific glass, poured 2/3 full and topped with whipped cream, is not something you can order anymore. That exact version ended when the counters ended. Number 2. French fries cooked in beef tallow. This is the one I mentioned earlier, and it matters more than most people realize. Fountain fries were commonly cooked in beef tallow, rendered animal fat, not the seed oils that replaced it almost universally, starting in the 1980s and 1990s. Tallow has a high smoke point, a deep, savory flavor, and a frying stability that vegetable and seed oils don't match. The fries that came out of a tallow fryer had a crust on the outside and a soft interior, and they held their texture longer than what you get today. McDonald's famously used beef tallow until 1990, when they switched to vegetable oil under public pressure. The same shift happened across the entire food industry. Here's why this matters for the bigger picture. Beef tallow has re-entered the conversation in health and nutrition circles in a serious way. The argument being made, and it's a growing one, is that the replacement of traditional animal fats with industrially processed seed oils was not a health improvement. It was a trade-off that the public never fully consented to, made quietly, without much announcement. The Walgreens lunch counter was one of the last places where the old method was still standard. When those counters closed, the tallow went with them. And most people eating fries today have no idea what they're missing or what replaced it. Number 1. The last Walgreens lunch counter. By the 1970s, drugstores were beginning to close their lunch counters. As early as 1970, Walgreens operated only one in New York City, down from 17. The trend swept across the country, and by the 1980s, nostalgia attached to the few left, most of which were limited to serving sodas and ice cream concoctions. Katz locations in Webster Groves and Kirkwood both had lunch counters until the very early 1980s, when Walgreens remodeled them beyond recognition. There was no farewell, no final service, no announcement in the newspaper. The last Walgreens lunch counter didn't close with ceremony. It closed the way most things close, with a remodel, a new floor plan, a decision made in a corporate office about shelf space and square footage. Someone calculated that the counter was taking up room that could hold more product, and they were right, by one definition of right. The counter went away, the shelves went in, and a format that had fed generations of Americans, that had invented the malted milkshake, that had served chicken salad and cherry phosphates and banana splits to people who came in every single day because it was theirs, was gone before anyone thought to say goodbye. That's what this list actually is. Not 25 discontinued menu items. It's a eulogy for a specific idea. The idea that the place where you filled your prescription should also be the place where you ate lunch, and that the person making your food knew your name, and that the whole experience cost you less than $1, and that it was good, really good, better than what replaced it. If you grew up with a lunch counter anywhere, Walgreens, Woolworths, a local drugstore, a dime store, drop the name of it in the comments. Tell me what you ordered. I read every single one of those, and the comment sections on these videos are honestly some of the best oral history on the internet right now. Subscribe if you haven't. We cover the food that's gone, the restaurants that didn't make it, and the stories behind why.